Hello and welcome to the series of e-lectures. This is Mandeep Kaur and I'll be covering your course syllabi online in the form of e-lectures. We'll kickstart this online academic session with paper 1 for BA first year, that is entitled Poetry and Drama. The first poem that I'm going to take up is The Seven Ages of Man by William Shakespeare. Now before I begin with the poem, I would like to give you a brief intro of the poet so that you get to know the man behind the poem, the poet William Shakespeare, and the age to which he belonged, that is Elizabethan era. Now because many of you are new to the subject English literature altogether, so for you, take this into consideration that English literature is divided into various periods, various eras, various ages, the time spans, as per the rulers, like who the ruler was at a particular point of time, what were the cultural trends of the time, what was the social milieu, and the characteristics of that particular period. So we divide literature in multiple periods. More on that in our next segment when we will talk about the history and other stuff. But for the time being, Shakespeare belonged to the era which is called Elizabethan. Now why is it called Elizabethan? Because Queen Elizabeth ruled England during this time. And this time, when I say this time, I mean 1558 to 1603. And William Shakespeare, he was born in 1564 in Stratford-upon, or Stratford-Avon. That is why he is popularly known as the Bard of Avon. And Shakespeare was a great poet, a great playwright, a great actor, and he is widely regarded as the greatest writer in the English language and the world's greatest dramatist. In the history of literature, Elizabethan age is considered to be one of the most important ages when it comes to literary contribution. And the poet that we are discussing, William Shakespeare, is very, very important because Elizabethan era is perhaps most famous for its theatre and works of William Shakespeare. He is widely acknowledged for his huge and magnificent literary contribution, especially his poetic and dramatic contribution. He has composed almost 39 plays and 154 sonnets. And some of his famous plays are his tragedies like Macbeth, Hamlet, King Lear, Othello. And his comedies include As You Like It, which is quite a famous play. And then there is Romeo and Juliet, and many more. And say these names may sound unfamiliar to you, but for sure, I mean, since you are the students of literature, so these names are something which you're going to recall time and again in your future classes. Since you are the students of English literature, you just can't do away with Shakespeare. And for many, Shakespeare and literature both are synonyms, so you just can imagine the fame which he enjoys, and it's all because of his huge and magnificent contribution to the literary world. Everything that he writes, every single word which he concocts, that just becomes something which carries a universal appeal, and therein lies his genius. And even if we talk about his plays, so they are so great, and his plays are performed more often than those of any other of the playwright. And if you are somebody who is fond of literature, just can never have enough of Shakespeare, but so far our course syllabus is concerned, we have 2 works of Shakespeare in our course for BA first year. First one is this poem which we are going to take up today, and its title is The Seven Ages of Man, and another one is a play by Shakespeare which is As You Like It, and this poem is a part of this play only. I mean, this poem appears in this play, As You Like It, as a song sequence. We will try to cover this poem line by line, and we'll discuss the thematical concern and the kind of language which Shakespeare has used, the economy of words which he employs in this poem. So please be attentive while you read this poem. so that you can understand and enjoy Shakespeare. The poem that we are going to take up today, The 7 Years of Man, is actually an extract from a very famous play of Shakespeare. It's a part of that play. It appears as a dialogue, as a song from that play. And the name of that play is As You Like It, which is quite a famous play by Shakespeare. And this poem, or these lines, the extract, is spoken by a famous character in that play, and his name is Jacques. And this poem, this dialogue, it appears in the play somewhere in Act 2nd and Scene 7 of that play. But for the time being, just keep this thing in mind that this poem is a part of Shakespeare's play As You Like It. And this poem appears in Act 2nd, Scene 7 of that play As You Like It. At times in the competitive exams, they do ask such questions like, where does this poem appear in that play? So this poem appears in Act 2, Scene 7 of play As You Like It, which is also written by Shakespeare. Luckily, we have this play in our course, and we'll discuss it later. Now we'll move on to the poem line by line. Please concentrate on the text of the poem on your screen and have a pen ready by your side so that you can jot down the meaning of the words you don't know. All the world is a stage, and all the men and women merely players. They have their exits and their entrances, and one man in his time plays many parts, his acts being 7 ages. And this poem, Shakespeare compares this world to a theatrical stage. Now this life, this world is a stage, and all the men and women are just actors on the stage of life. They have their exits, they have their entrances, and in this lifetime, a person plays many parts. And these parts, this life, is separated into 7 acts. Now, as per Shakespeare, every individual goes through 7 stages in his life. Now, what are those stages? What happens in each and every stage? We'll discuss that one by one. At first, the infant, mewling and puking in the nurse's arms, and then the whining schoolboy with his satchel, and shining morning face, creeping like snail, unwilling to school. Please mark the words which you don't know. First of all, we have infant. Infant, of course, a little kid, a little baby when a child is very small. Mewling. Mewling is a whimper, a cry. You know, little kids, they keep crying. They have a different kind of cry, a feeble cry, a very weak kind of a cry. That is called mewling. And what is puking? Puking is vomiting. A little kid, something white keeps coming from his mouth, milk or something. That is called puking. When a little kid, he keeps vomiting, that is called puking. And he keeps puking and mewling in the arms of his mother or in the arms of his nurse. And then the whining schoolboy. Whining means complaining. Somebody who is complaining, whining. You know, little children, they don't want to go to school and then they keep complaining. They are whining. Okay? Satchel is your school bag. Satchel means your school bag. And then we have shining morning face. The school-going children, they have their faces. What kind of faces they have? They have shining faces. Why? Because they have been handled by their mothers. Okay, they give him nice bath and then they comb their hairs nicely. They oil their hairs or whatever they do. And then they have shining morning faces. But they are creeping like snail. Why? Because they don't want to go to school. That's why they are creeping. They are walking slowly. Like a snail, they are creeping. Okay? They are unwilling to school. That means they don't want to go to school. In the very first days, man appears as an infant, as a child, who keeps crying for one reason or another. Being an infant, he is whimpering or puking in the nurse's arm. In the second stage, man is a schoolboy, a whining schoolboy. A whining schoolboy, one who is crying at the high pitch with his bag on his shoulders. And then he's young, his face is bright, he's young-faced, and he's creeping like a snail. That is, he's not willing to go to school, and because he's unwilling, so he's walking like a snail. Now, we have discussed two stages, and please mark the use of living images in both the stages. In the stage 1, we can glimpse that scene of a child, of an infant who is puking in the arms of his mother. And here, in the second stage, he's creeping like a snail because he is being pushed by his parents. He is not willing to go to school and is being pushed by his parents, so he is creeping like a snail. This is a living image, which is very important in Shakespeare because Shakespeare is a master craftsman. He is very great when it comes to economy of words or about handling his words. So these two are examples of living images. And then the lover sang like furnace with a woeful ballad made to his mistress' eyebrow. Please mark the important words and expressions. This stage is of lover. In this stage, a man is a lover. And he's sighing like furnace. Sighing means breathing out, mourning in love passionately. Furnace, smithy, a smelting place, a heating place where metals are smelted. With a woeful ballad. Woeful, sad, heartbreaking, distressful. Ballad, songs. Like the lovers, they are composing songs. Mistress, girlfriend. In the third stage, he is young, he is full of desires, ambitions, and dreams. In the third stage, man is a lover who is huffing and puffing like a furnace because he is full of passions, and he keeps writing sad poems about maybe about the eyebrows of his girlfriend, and he is full of passions. Then a soldier, full of strange arts and bearded like the part, jealous in honor, sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation, even in the cannon's mouth. Please mark the important words in the stage 4. This stage is that of a soldier. So when man is a soldier, he is full of strange arts. What is strange arts? The pleasures, the promises, the vows which he undertakes. And bearded like the part. He keeps the beard like that of a leopard. Okay? So in this stage he is aggressive and quite unwise. And his honor is very dear to him. Jealous in honor means that his honor is very dear to him and he can fight for it with anybody. Sudden and quick in quarrel, seeking the bubble reputation even in the cannon's mouth. Cannon means gun. Okay, that means he can even risk his life for his honor. Now we move to stage 4. Herein man is a soldier. He is full of foreign curses. That means that he is foul-mouthed. He has learned so very many swearing words. And he keeps a beard like a pard, like a panther. And he is so eager to fight for his honor. Keeps picking up quarrels for every single thing. He is so jealous whenever anybody challenges his honor. So he gets jealous and keeps picking quarrels. And when a soldier, even if he is in battlefield, he puts himself in front of the cannon's mouth, doesn't shy away, doesn't coy from risking his life. And why does he risk his life? To seek fame. Fame which is fleeting as a soap bubble. He keeps hankering after bubble reputation. And then the justice, in fair round ballet, with good cap aligned, with eyes severe and beard of formal cut, full of voice sauce and modern instances, and so he plays his part. Justice, judge, round belly, of course, a fat belly, good cap aligned, capon, fat chickens, beard of a formal cut, full of wise sauce. Wise sauce, that is, he had some wise experiences. Worldly wisdom he has acquired. Modern instances, examples. In the fifth act, in the fifth stage, man is a judge with a nice fat belly, and he wishes to get hold of all the wealth by fair or foul means. In this fifth stage, money becomes the strongest motivator of his life, and he keeps adding to his material wealth by accepting bribe. And please mark the use of this phrase "good apple line." It refers to the chickens, which it's used idiomatically in a figurative way, like he's accepting chickens as his bribe. Okay, so he's a judge. He has a fat belly, fat because he has taken lot enough bribe, and that's why his belly is fat. And then he keeps accumulating wealth, he keeps hankering after property, and his eyes are stern. And he has given his beard a respectable cut. And he is full of wise words, wise sayings. And he can quote anything. He can talk in a very, in a very impressive way because he's a judge now. He has acquired a kind of worldly wisdom, and he has already added enough for his material comfort. So he keeps saying some good words, some wise words which he has learned in his life. The sixth day shifts into the lean and slippered pantaloon, with spectacles on nose and pouch on side, his youthful horse well saved a world too wide, for his shrunk shank and his big manly voice, turning again towards childish treble, pipes and whistles in his sound. Please mark the important words: pantaloon, pants or trousers. Youthful horse. Horse means your close-fitting trousers, or what you call your breeches. Shrunk, lean or wrinkled. I mean, when you get old, you are wrinkled and you turn lean. Shank, the part of leg from the knee to the foot. Oblivion, forgetfulness. Sans, without. As we move on to stage 6, you will notice that the scene is changing drastically, because now we have a man, an old skinny man in sleepers. That means his shoes are very big, are too big for his feet, and he has glasses on his nose and a money bag at his side, and even his stockings are white, because in youth they used to fit, but now they are hanging loosely. So his stockings, his pajamas, they are hanging loosely because his legs are shriveled. His legs have shrunken now because he is old. And his voice, which was good when he was a judge, which was whimpering, which was good when he was a whining boy. Now what kind of voice he has? His voice is shivering. His voice is just a shriek. Last scene of all that ends this strange, eventful history is second childishness and mere oblivion. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste, sans everything. And now the last stage. And in the last scene, in the last stage, what happens? It marks the end of our stay on this stage of life. That is, a man tends to forget everything, and then he enters his second childhood, and he is without teeth, he is without eyes and without taste. That means he is without everything. So here comes an end to his stay on this stage of life, because in the beginning Shakespeare has told us that all the world is a stage, and we, all the men and women, are just players. So we just play an allotted role which is allotted to us by God. We complete our role as per the age, as per the stage. In different ages we play our role, and then in the end we mark our exit. Okay, now let's recall all the stages once again. To begin with, Shakespeare has compared this world, this life, to a stage. And to us, what are we? We all are just performers on the stage of life. So what was the first stage? That was infancy, when a person is an infant, when man is an infant who is helpless. He totally depends on the care of his mother, on the care of his nurse, and he is puking in the arms of his nurse. In the second stage, he is a schoolboy. What kind of schoolboy? A complaining, a whining schoolboy who is crying at the highest pitch because he doesn't want to go to school and he's been pushed by his parents or by his nanny to go to school, and that's why he's complaining. And how about his walk? He's not willing to go, so he's moving like a snail. He's creeping like a snail. In the third stage, man is a lover. And he is full of ambitions. He is full of dreams and desires. And he is passionate about his love life. And he keeps writing love lyrics. He keeps writing poetry or love songs about his mistress, about his girlfriend. And in the next stage, man is a soldier. What kind of soldier? One who picks up quarrels very easily. One who is very possessive about his honor. One who keeps running after. One who keeps hankering after bubble reputation. Even he doesn't shy away from dying. Okay? So he keeps running after fleeting fame. In the next days, and yes, in this age he has also learned some swearing words. Okay? And in the next days, he is a judge. What kind of judge? A judge with a fat belly. Why fat belly? Because he has taken a lot of bribe. He has added enough to his material comfort because he lives for money. And how does he talk? He talks in a very intelligent way. He talks in a very wise way. Because in his life, now he is in his midlife, so he has acquired enough wisdom, enough experience, enough maturity, so he can talk in an impressive way. Okay? And he can quote some examples, some latest examples and something from the past. So he can quote in a very nice way and he can hold a very good conversation, and he's full of wise sayings, wise words. In the next stage, scene changes drastically. Now what happens in the next stage? In the sixth stage, what happens? In the sixth stage, the man is a lean figure. He's very thin. Okay, he is almost a skeleton now, and his clothes are not fit enough for him because his body has shrunken. And how about his voice? His voice is not that passionate. His voice is not swearing anymore. His voice is not like it used to be before, when he was a schoolboy, or when he was a judge, or when he was a passionate lover, or when he was a soldier. Now what kind of voice he has now? It resembles a shriek, just like a child. Okay? And even he's very weak now, and his clothes are not fit enough for him. And he has glasses on his nose, and he has his money bag by his side. Now comes the next stage, that is the last stage. That is the last stage on a man's stay on this earth. And now he is without teeth, okay, and he can't hear properly, he can't see properly, and is without everything. He can't taste anything, okay. So he has lost all of his senses now, and he is now about to exit from this world, and this is the end of life. This is the end of a man's stay on this stage called life. So briefly, first stage is that of infancy. Second, a whining schoolboy. Third, a young lover. Fourth, a soldier. Fifth, a judge. And sixth, a skeleton figure, a lean old man. And seventh, the final stage, which resembles second childhood. Okay? And then it marks the end of our life. I hope by now the meaning of the poem is clear to you, and now we'll move ahead with the figures of speech used in the poem. The figurative language that Shakespeare has employed, we'll discuss it. I'll be doing a separate video for you explaining the important figures of speech which are often used by the poets in the poetry. And this particular poem is full of two figures of speech which are simile and metaphor. Now what is a simile? Simile is a comparison between two things or two objects. For example, if you say that somebody is as beautiful as a rose, so you're comparing the person with a rose, you're comparing the beauty of the person with the beauty of the rose. So you are doing a simile here. And second one is metaphor. Now what is a metaphor? Metaphor again is a comparison, but it is an indirect comparison, or you can say that it's an implied comparison. When you make use of simile, you use the words like so or like she's as beautiful as the rose, or she's so beautiful. Okay, so you make use of the words like so and as while using simile. But when you make use of metaphor, you don't need to stick to so or as. So when Shakespeare says that all the world is a stage, that means that he's comparing this life with a theater. He's comparing this life with a stage. So he's doing a metaphor here. That is, he's indirectly comparing two things. He's saying that life is a stage. So it's a metaphor here. Okay, so the very first line is metaphor in this poem. Now we move next. Take for example in this poem when Shakespeare says that all the world is a stage, that means he is doing a metaphor here because he is comparing this life, this world to a stage. He is saying this life is a stage. So he is doing a metaphor. It's an example of metaphor. And as I have already explained that when you do a simile, you make a comparison using the words like or so. For example, just observe this line, creeping like snail. So he is comparing two things. What exactly he is comparing? He is comparing the walk of a child, the walk of a school-going child with that of a snail. So he is creeping like a snail because he is unwilling to school. So this is simile here. And then next, sighing like furnace. When the man is a lover, so he keeps mourning, he keeps sighing like a furnace, like a smithy, like a smelting place. So here again we have simile. Next, he has a beard like a pard, bearded like the pard, that again is a simile. Next, we have bubble repetition. Now see, this is again a comparison but not a direct one. So it's not a simile because we don't have the words like or so or as here. So this is an indirect comparison. This is an implied comparison because the poet is saying that the soldier is hankering after bubble repetition. This does not signify that repetition is a concrete bubble, though it resembles it in character. That means like a bubble's quality is that it's beautiful, it looks pretty, but then it disappears, it's transitory, it doesn't stay for very long. So is true of life. That is, we come to this life and then we die someday. One day we die, one day we take birth, and our stay on this earth is transitory, just like a bubble which is pretty, but it's not something which is going to stay forever. So this is an indirect comparison of life, of our reputation, which the soldier hankers after, with that of a bubble. So this is metaphor. The poet has also made use of the technique of repetition. For example, observe the very last line of the poem. The repetition of word sans is there. Sans teeth, sans eyes, sans taste. So this is repetition. And observe one more phrase which is there, shrunk, shank. So this is the repetition of S sound. So when a sound is repeated in poetry, it's called alliteration. This poem is also full of so very many images, something which you can have a glimpse of. For example, the sixth phase of a man's life, when he is in his slippered pantaloons, when he has his spectacles on nose and his pouch on side. So you can very much view the scene. It's very much there in front of your eyes. Or when a child is going to school, when he's whining and with his satchel, so you can very much observe that scene happening right in front of your eyes. Or when he's creeping like a snail, or when an infant, he's mewling or he's puking. So this is something which you can have a glimpse of. So these all are the examples of images. So we can say that this poem is pretty economical when it comes to words. The economy of words is very much visible here, and Shakespeare is quite famous for that, which I have already discussed. And this is something which makes this poem so comprehensive, so beautiful, and so true to life. I mean, this poem gives you a universal truth that man's stay on this earth is transitory, but still we are hankering after fame, we are hankering after money. What's the point? It's an ironical fact which Shakespeare brings to the shore and quite effectively. So this poem, this dialogue of Chequers from Shakespeare's As You Like It, stands a strong case for the poet's central argument in regard to the irony, in regard to the fertility of human life. And this is what makes this poem one of the most wide-read, one of the most quoted of Shakespeare's poetry. And this sums our poem. Thank you for listening. Stay home, stay safe.